and welcome back. Thank you for staying with Sunday Live. It's time for a Sunday Live interview. Joining me is Sicily Kariuki, a public service, youth and gender affairs, huge, massive docket. Welcome back to the program.
Thank you very much.
The last time we spoke, we were talking about sealing the administrative and other loopholes in your lion ministry, if you like, that led to a lot of corruption before you joined. What progress have you made?
Very good progress, I must say. In terms of the HR aspects, the persons who in one way or another were involved, as I did indicate, we were looking through, and most of them are out of the space now. Some are going through the process in terms of the court. Others are really out, so that we are able to bring in a new team that would be a lot more dedicated and whose integrity hasn't been put to question. That is on the HR aspects. But looking at the controls themselves, we also have a new team which is responsible for public financial management, if you will. A new team we are looking to bring in more to be able to back up the current team which is already working on this. When you look at the systems again, we have come a long way in terms of bringing in controls in terms of the youth, the community youth that were involved in the NYS project, for example, having been successfully registered on the biometric registration. We are going ahead to put all the other aspects of our management onto IT platform. For example, I'm looking at having a fleet management of all the vehicles and other resources. Once we tag, we are auditing, we'll be tagging, and we'll also be putting them on fleet management system.
Right. You feel you've come a long way, yet at the same time the ministry is still hitting headlines for all the wrong reasons. Now there's a youth fund scandal that is out. Were you surprised at all by this latest scam?
I really wasn't, because it is one of those things that I found having happened at the beginning of last financial year. So really it isn't a new scandal that we are looking at. Perhaps the way it came to the public, it sounded like it was new, but it's one of those issues that indeed the previous management had even flagged and invited the EFCC to begin investigations. But what it is, I did also because I realized there were system issues, control issue, governance issues between how the board and management were operating. I did invite the Inspectorate of State Corporations also to come in and be able to walk through the systems and be able to advise on what requires to be done from a governance point of view. So it isn't a new issue. It's regrettable that upwards of 180 million shillings is the subject of discussion here. It's material, because it is our business to ensure not even 1 shilling of public money goes into the wrong use.
Are you concerned that all the governance issues that have ravaged a ministry that really is at the heart of the Jubilee government's manifesto, specifically for youth, women, and for disenfranchised groups, will impede any success before 2017?
2 viewpoints of how to look at this. One, it's unfortunate, it's regrettable, particularly when it has to do with the ministry that I'm responsible for right now, because it's a lot of negative energy around you, even though the scams and scandals happened before I was in office. It takes a lot of energy out of us. But number 2, I think it's also an opportunity to help us turn around and say to Kenyans that we are able to do it, and there are still good Kenyans who aim at protecting public money and putting it to the right use. So I would choose to see the opportunity in this.
But what practically do you think you can deliver so that President Uhuru Kenyatta can confidently go to voters in about another 18 months and say, I delivered on youth and women? I'm currently working on an impact assessment in terms of what really the funds have done, and it's phenomenal. I mean, I've been out to the field and talked to women and youth, and if you see the ones that are able to access the funds and how far they have come in terms of their economic empowerment, it's phenomenal. So I think that we shouldn't just be lost on the negative aspects of what has been. There are good stories to tell. There are successes that have been achieved, because out of 180 million lost, there has been also a lot of money that has reached the beneficiaries, and it is making a lot of economic sense to them. Right. I want to wind up with the follow-up issues with the question. Are you still encountering cartels in your work right now?
I would say that because when I moved in, the first thing was, one, to stop all the payments. So the issue of cartels then wasn't there.
Okay.
Number 2 was to cancel all the pre-qualified suppliers. And number 3 was to advertise again to get new people coming in. The little procurements that we have done seems to suggest to us that people are very, very conscious that we are looking into a lot of details, and the costing of the items we are bringing in are priced at market rate. Suggesting to me the public just needs to be told that our eyes, we are very, very focused. We are very keen to see what it is you want to bring to us. I have a team that is doing nothing else except look at how the market is responding and the pricing and what items and services we are looking for. And I'm very happy for that response, because I think somebody knows we are conscious.
Okay. I want us to shift gears now and focus on gender issues, and specifically women's issues. International Women's Day is coming up this week. And I want to start with women in power. And you still arguably hold one of the most powerful cabinet positions under this current administration. I think around about 41 billion shillings under your control. Yet, and also, again, you have 2 women permanent secretaries working under you, so it may appear that the most powerful women in government may actually come from your ministry. And yet, at the same time, there is criticism, even in this administration, that while women hold powerful titles and positions, that necessarily does not translate into real substantive power, that they're seen more as policymakers, etc. What has your own experience been, and what is your understanding of the amount of power that you wield as a cabinet secretary? And of course, this is not a criticism, not just of government. It goes across also the private sector as well. Women will get a title, but not really the ones who are moving the muscle. What are your thoughts?
And I think the issue of power is highly debatable here. And I have said oftentimes that I don't think I'm really the most powerful minister at this point in time. I find the docket that I hold one that is meant to serve Kenyans at the grassroots level, and so I find it more of a service and call, you know, to make an impact as opposed to the power. And that's conversations I've been having with the 2 of my PSs, and that we don't allow the power, be it. The budgets have come down substantially for the ministry in the coming year. And I do think that women don't necessarily talk too much, and they could therefore be viewed not to be the ones moving and making decisions. But I do think my colleagues, 5 of us, really do make things move. It's just that we don't shout as much. Again, recall people who
is that a
talk loudest.
strength or a weakness?
I think we have a business to do, we have a job to deliver, and we have a difference that we must make. And we spend most of the time making that difference, as opposed to talking too much. Perhaps that would be different from, you know, my other colleagues. Some of them will do and talk at the same time, but women will really do and before they talk. So I do think women are holding positions that they can make a difference and are busy making that difference.
All right. So IWD, International Women's Day, is coming up on Tuesday, yet at the same time, you know, Kenyan women are still, you know, struggling with the very basics: FGM, gender-based violence, you know, economic empowerment, etc. What is your own assessment of the state of the Kenyan woman?
That there is substantial progress in both the political, the economic, and the social spheres. If I look at the gender-based violence, you will have 1 matter reported in a space of days. Not good at all, because it ought not to be happening. But if you look at how the landscape was 20 years ago, it was every day several women, you know, being exposed. If you look at the anti-FGM fight, again, you're looking at statistics that reflect that there has been a decline. The preference, as I speak to you, last year was at 21%. 5 years before that time, it was 27%, showing that there is a downward trend in terms of then dealing with this vice. So there's progress. We need to speed up, though.
All right. The theme this year is focusing on women as peace builders and women in, you know, conflict societies. We're coming up to an electioneering period. There's always concern as to whether elections will be peaceful. What can women practically do to guarantee a peaceful poll, knowing that very well in situations of conflict, it's the women and the children who are hardest hit?
True. Kenya is a signatory of UN Resolution 1325, which views the need of women to be at the center of peace building, conflict resolution. And I'm glad to say that on Tuesday, when we celebrate the International Women's Day, we'll be unveiling a work plan that is going to rally all the stakeholders behind specific interventions the next 4 years to be able to get women at the center of peace building and conflict resolution.
All right. I want to talk about the two-thirds gender rule, because it looks like while there's progress been made, and you have said that you feel Kenyan women are faring better. When it comes to leadership positions, it looks like Kenya is not too sure which direction it wants to take. We haven't realized the not more than two-thirds gender rule. What's the position of the ministry on that? Again, I want to start on the positive side first. 10 years ago, we had around about 10% of women in high-level political positions. As I speak to you, we are doing 22%. The aim is to bring this to a third. There are bills before Parliament, as I speak to you, 3 of them. This Tuesday we'll be having conversations with parliamentarians and other stakeholders to be able to agree on the best bill that should take the day. Constitutional deadline for this bill is August of this year, meaning we must agree. My ministry is leading consultations and conversations around this discussion, and I am convinced out of the prelim conversations we've had, we should be able to settle as one that has the best formula in terms of legality but also practicality, for us to be able then to ensure we walk towards the no more than two-thirds gender rule. We're just about to wind up, but before that, we're getting into a political period, and still in as far as the not more than two-thirds rule is concerned, the ability of women to take elective seats is still in doubt. What is the ministry going to do to help women come 2017 who are vying for these elective seats to actually get them? I desire to lead conversations to the grassroots level. You do realize a lot of these conversations have been headquartered, and a lot of it we have talked in Nairobi and in urban centers. So my minister will be leading conversations and dissemination of the opportunities way down to the grassroots and bringing it up all the way. But equally important, I'll be calling on partnership with the media to be able to make the conversations heard and discussed by people who really matter. This has been lacking. Equally important, I'm in partnership with development partners who have agreed to come forward and help support a strategy to ensure that we bring more women this coming season. Importantly as well, the issue of violence and exposure to women whenever they stick their necks out and they want to come for elective post has been discussed. We'll be looking again to discuss as government and the executive to see what kind of security these women can be accorded when they pronounce that they want to come into elective positions. Finally, you're the youth CS, and we've aired a disturbing story on this quote-unquote Project X, a raunchy party that was being promoted. Police are investigating it. Does it concern you, the state of Kenya's youth, the values of Kenyan society? You can't legislate on every last thing. What practically can you do for youth as CS? And I want to confirm that I'm very disturbed as a parent, but also as the CS responsible for youth affairs of this country. Concerned because the media need to take on responsibility, like all of us, not to make such stories like Project X a news item that is running every so frequent, because it begins to say to us, it is all right. And even the youth that perhaps are not going to get excited and get curious. That is why they're youth. They get curious at every opportunity granted to them. The media is saying this is what society looks like now. Is it right? It isn't right, and I'm going to have a conversation also around everyone else. That is the media on the one side. The church, the faith-based organization have to go back to the basics, just as parents have to go back to the basics. The school and the value system that we are inculcating into our youth, we need to interrogate that. But equally important, we must call and hold the youth responsible for the choices that they make, because it isn't just right. I mean, it's unheard of when we grew up. But now, because of the Western influence and the media influence, it looks cool. It isn't cool. It is not right. It is not legal. It isn't right. Thank you, CS, for your time. Thank you very much. That's a reminder of our Sunday Live interview. We're going to be back with the sport and much more. Stay with us.